Coming up on This Week in Radio Tech, Charlie Wooten is with us. He has literally been through a hurricane. Hurricane Michael a few weeks ago, and Charlie takes care of a bunch of radio stations in Panama City, Florida. Chris Tobin is here, I'm here, and Charlie Wooten is here to talk about how to recover from a hurricane on TWiRT.
This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store with outstanding service, savings, and support online at bgs.cc. By the Ruby Console from Lavo. See Lavo in your future at lavo.com/TWiRT. And by Angry Audio. Audio problems disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com.
Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech. It's our 420th episode of the show where we talk about everything from the microphone to the top of the tower. And today we're going to talk about things that take your tower down. One particular thing that's coming up on a War Stories episode with our guest, Charlie Wooten. We'll get to Charlie in just a second. I'm Kirk Harnack, not in my usual Telos Alliance studio, but I'm in a nondescript place in Florida with the family here. So we're doing This Week in Radio Tech because it's important to me and it's important to you too. So that's my story. Chris Tobin is here too. Chris, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Kirk. Thank you. I'm doing well. It's just a bit of snow and sleet outside. Otherwise, I'm nice and cozy here at the house. So it's good. It's a good.
Man, I just got away. I just got away from the snow and sleet in Nashville this morning. As of about 5 a.m., there were a few flakes. I mean, just flakes on the deck. But where there had been some water ponding in little areas on the deck, that was frozen. And a friend of mine, about an hour and a half drive to the west of Nashville, so near the Tennessee River, man, they had an inch and a half of snow in Benton, Tennessee. So that was pretty impressive. And then I heard about, larger snow amounts to the north and west of there. There was snow at Elvis's Graceland yesterday yesterday. So it's cold in the South when there's snow at Graceland.
Well, Charlie was saying it was cold by him. So, it's really cold out south.
Well, it's below 60 in Florida. It's cold, isn't it? And speaking of Charlie, here he is, ladies and gentlemen. He's been our guest before and he's here now. Charlie Wooten, from Panama City, Florida. Welcome in, Charles.
Thank you, Kirk. It's about 48 degrees right now.
That does seem cold for a Floridian. Absolutely. Well,
it is.
I wore my jacket getting from the house in Nashville to the airport. Had my jacket on, and I was okay. Got down here to Florida, and I needed my jacket. It's chilly. I'm just outside of Orlando. Yeah, man, it's chilly. But chilly's not why we're here to talk. A few weeks ago, and we'll get into the show here in just a minute, but let's kind of preview what we're talking about. A few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, we had a hurricane, big hurricane, Hurricane Michael, and man, so much devastation to the Florida Panhandle. And Charlie, give us a little elevator speech about what we're gonna see in the next hour, and kind of, what you had to do. Give us a little tease.
Well, it's been about a month. It's been about 6 weeks now. Around the 10th of October, we had this thing called Michael that showed up in the Gulf, and everybody thought it was going to be a Category 2. No big deal. I mean, well, big deal, but not that big of a deal. So everything was going along fine. And Sunday, I came to the station and went to all my transmitter sites, ran the generators under load. Of course, they exercise automatically once a week anyhow, but I ran the one here at the studio, and my general manager was here, and he was up in his office. He was doing some work and on a Sunday afternoon and watching NFL football while he was working, and came back raising hell at me. Why'd you turn and make the TV go away? And I said, well, I was checking the generator because I had to crank the generator, and his half of the building is not on the master UPS. The technical side of the building is all on the master UPS, and so interrupted his TV watching, and he had to reconnect to whatever he was using to get the TV. But I know I was just checking everything to make sure everything was fine, under load, and getting ready for the big hurricane. And before we know it, it's a Category 4, and everybody's going, holy crap, and it ended up being more than a Category 4. Like we were talking a few moments ago before the show, it's more like a 4.9. So that's what we had to go through here.
Oh man. Almost a 5 and huge devastation pictures that we saw. We're going to get back here in just a minute and really dig into the meat of this. We're going to talk about preparation for hurricane because, they do get bad weather in the panhandle. There's a lot of lightning, storms, thunders, and lightning is, several times a week occurrence during the summertime. And we're going to talk about Charlie's preparations. Then when we had a real, what do you call it? An SHTF day and night, and then what things look like, right after that, how Charlie and his team got his stations back on. Chris Tobin will have comments and questions, and we're going to look at a whole lot of pictures. So if you are listening today's show, we're going to do the best we can to describe the pictures, but you may want, this is one show where you're going to want to go back and see the video if you possibly can. So we'll tell you what's in the pictures, but if you can watch our show on video, it's on YouTube within a couple of days after we do the show live, and it's on Facebook, the live version. So you may want to watch this so you can see those pictures. All right. Hey, our show This Week in Radio Tech with Charlie Wooten and Chris Tobin coming on up. It's brought to you in part by our friends at Angry Audio. Let's hear a bit from Angry Audio. I'm going to tell you about this cool product that they have. From Angry Audio, this is the it's called the Talkshow Gadget. Those little live audio mixers, you see them everywhere. Some are so good you may be tempted to use one in a radio studio. Well, sadly, they're missing some necessary features that, until now, have only been available on expensive radio consoles. Enter the Talkshow Gadget. That's the Talkshow Gadget right there. It will do things that are essential for broadcasting. So you can have a studio monitor volume control, a second input for listening to the on-air feed. Your monitor speakers will mute automatically to prevent feedback when your mic is live. You don't have to remember to turn something down. And yes, you're still using an inexpensive console. Speaking of live mics, the Talkshow Gadget can even provide logic to illuminate an on-air sign, hopefully hushing the hallway chatterboxes. LED illuminated push buttons instantly activate for up to 4 microphones so you get the mix right and leave the faders in place. Check it out. It is the Talkshow Gadget from Angry Audio. Go to angryaudio.com and look for the Talkshow Gadget. Thanks a lot to Angry Audio for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. All right, it's Kirk Harnack, Chris Tobin, and Charlie Wooten is with us. Charlie, let's kind of dig right into this. If you don't mind, Charles, can we talk a little bit about prep? You post on Facebook a lot, and I see you going to transmitter sites, you're checking generators, you're looking at air conditioning, you're making sure your backups work. I mean, you're like, the guy who believes in preventive maintenance and having options. Talk to me about that, and kind of what your feeling is about backup systems and maintenance in light of the possibility of some really bad weather or other catastrophe.
Well, like you said, I really believe in backups, and we're lucky to have here our backup power, which in Panama City most of the stations don't have, and so I test that power every week. I load test it once a month, but I run the generators once a week, and in preparation, we had to top up. We had the tanks all topped off. My company vehicle has an 85-gallon fueling tank that I can use to top off my tanks if I can't get a contractor to come, a fueling contractor to come take care of it. And for the first couple of days, when we did lose power, that was one of the major tasks I had, was making it to all the transmitter sites and making sure that we had fuel for the generators. So that's one part of the preparation. Another thing we did in preparation for the storm, and there'll be a picture later, was that we had all of the windows boarded up. We had these boards already made; they're numbered, and each window has a number. And we have a contractor here, a local building contractor, that comes in. And he puts these, has his people put these boards up over our windows so that we don't have any flying debris blowing through into it. So the building was boarded up and ready for the storm. And we made that decision actually, we made the decision on Friday before the storm to go ahead and have that done, because it was we just kept seeing the bullseye. The bullseye never moved, and we've always had these near misses here. We've had so many near misses in the last 10 years where we missed the bullet, it went the other way, it went east, it went west, but this time it came right up the kazoo and hit us right. Literally the eye went right over Panama City. So this wasn't a near miss by any stretch of the imagination.
We'll start looking at pictures here in just a minute. I'm eager to see those. I haven't seen most of them. But Charlie, there's a lot of engineers. Well, look, I'll start out by saying you're an authoritative guy. You've won some awards. iHeart, or maybe back when it was Clear Channel, gave you an award, Engineer of the Year. People know who you are. Your word has some weight and some gravitas to it. But you still have a financial situation there. Your general manager is supposed to show a profit, and backup systems cost money, generators cost money, fuel costs money. How are you able to have this relationship with your employer to where some of what you want to do in terms of backup is authorized and gets done? How do you do that?
Well, we've always had generators here, and from the very I came to work for Clear Channel when I was actually Paxson then, 1997, and it was bought shortly, just a month or two later by Clear Channel. And when we were building the new studio building here, adding on to the existing studio building, one of the things we added was a 200 kW generator that would not just run the technical area, but would run the whole area, air conditioning, everything. So that in the case of something like we had, and this is the first time the generator has had to run this long. I mean, our Onan generators, they're expensive. They're expensive to maintain, but they work, and they work well. And I can say that my 4 Onan generators worked flawlessly for the whole time of the hurricane, except for a battery that went bad. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. We'll talk about that. That's Murphy's Law there. But we were lucky enough to initially have the generators, and that's something very important. And we had stations here that just went off the air. They didn't have any power. They were off, period. They had to wait for the power to come back on. And there's still areas of the air. There's still areas now that still do not have power. So, that's how bad the power situation is here. But in 2004, 2005, we had Hurricane Ivan. It hit Pensacola, or just east of Pensacola, but it was a very big storm. And that time, the general manager's name is Pete Norden. He's in Charleston, South Carolina. He works for iHeart now, but he still works for iHeart, but he's been transferred to Charleston. And we were standing there in the parking lot during the storm, listening to the wind howl through the STL tower. And Pete said, I hear that generator, and he says, I'm never going to complain again about the money we spend on maintenance on the generator, because we're the only signal zone in the market right now. And and by being the only signal zone in the market, I mean, you're there to serve the public, but at the same time, you're going to be making revenue for the company, and for the market. So there's two sides of that coin. You're serving the public, but at the same time, on the other hand, you're still generating revenue while serving the public. So you get the best of both worlds. And he says, I'll never, ever complain about those $1,200 service charges to have the oil changed and filters changed and water separators changed and all of the things, polishing the fuel, all of those things that happen to keep a generator running.
Well, tell you what, we've been teasing these pictures. So how about you, me, and Chris Tobin take a look at these pictures? And as we mentioned before the show, these are in no particular order, so we may jump around in time. But again, if you're listening to the show, see if you can get the video version of this show and watch it. So I'm going to ask our producer, Suncast, to just go ahead and start and switch back and forth to us as he sees fit. But here we go. Charlie, you take it away. Chris, you feel welcome to jump in too.
Okay, this is actually, and like you said, no particular order. We see here, we see a satellite dish, and then we see a satellite dish pole. Well, what's happened is the satellite dish looks perfectly fine, except it's listing at about 12 degrees. So we had to have a new satellite pole put in with a kit. This time, we instead of just putting a pipe into a slab, we've put a kingpin post in with a large slab, and so that there we're getting ready. There's a crane there, and you can see the headache ball hanging down. Fixed to grab that satellite dish and move it from the old pole to the new pole, and get that done. This happened about a week and a half ago, I think it was. We had to order the kingpin post and everything, but we're lucky enough to have a company here in Panama City called Link Up. It's Mark Johnson. You may know him. I don't know.
We've had Mark on the show.
Yeah. Mark had his people take care of this because I had other things to do, and he took the bull by the horns and took care of getting the slab, and I had to get the concrete because it's hard to get concrete right after a hurricane, believe it or not. And
okay,
and it's hard to get a crane right after a hurricane, but I had some contacts, and so I was able to get a crane and get the concrete delivered, and we were able to get this pole put in, and so we could get the satellite, the C-band satellite back. It was, believe it or not, with the pipe tilted like that. They did come out right after the hurricane, and they actually found the bird, and it was pointed at the bird there, but we wanted to get it off that tilted pipe and get it onto a straight pipe, and then of course they cut the pipe off below the ground and filled in the dirt. Yeah. There we go. So we go to the next one.
And so that's a fixed dish, so it doesn't have to track anything. So it can be on a tilted pipe, but if it's listing, that means it's not stable, and so it can move some more.
It's just not stable. It could move some more with a good thunderstorm or something. So we want to get it onto something a better support.
All right, next pick, Sudcast. Oh,
all right, here we are. We are fueling. This is the studio generator. We're fueling the generator here. And this is at night. It's just according when we could get our fuel people to come, and we have a company I think they're out of North Carolina that iHeart contracts with that handles things like the logistics for fueling and those things during this type of an event. And so these guys were golden as far as when they showed up to take care of our fueling of our generators. This generator looks like hell on the outside, and I know everybody said, "Well, look at all the rust." Well, this is in the salt air down here, and that's just something we have to put up with. If you look at the engine, you could eat off the engine. It's well maintained, but the outer cover could use a little tender loving care. But it's
so at this point, how long had this been running, and how much? How close was it to dry? How much fuel did it take at this point?
Well, at this point, this was at the studio, I believe. This is at the studio. It has a 320 gallon tank, and this is the 200 kW. It has a 505 cubic inch Cummins diesel engine on it, and it would use about a quarter of a tank a day, maybe a little more than a quarter of a tank a day. And that was with the air conditioning running. We had probably, 25 tons of air conditioning running in the building total, counting all of the units, because we had family members of the staff living here. We had all kinds of people living here in the building. In fact, we still have people living in motorhomes outside of the building as I speak here. Our general manager, his house was completely destroyed, and he's actually living in a fifth wheel camper right out 30 feet away from my office here.
So not only is it iHeartMedia, it's iHeart Shelter and the iHeart Arms.
There you go.
Right. Welcome to the iHeart Arms in Panama City.
Really.
That's awesome that you were able to do that. And indeed, like you said, you had people that had to stay overnight. Their homes were either inaccessible, no power, no water.
All of the above, really. And people made the conscious decision to move their families here before we had people here during the storm, because they were in areas that were supposed to be evacuated, and so, or in an area that was susceptible to flooding or whatever. So it was a lot of people. There were probably 30 people here in the building during the storm, and because we're 35 feet above sea level where the studios are, so we didn't have to worry about flooding. So that was one of the big things. We were away from the storm surge.
Suncast, let's see the next picture. What you got?
Here we are. Here, this is where they're putting up. This is a couple of days before the storm. Like I said, we've had these panels for a number of years, and they're all numbered, and they all fit the windows. And we have a crew come in, and they screw them into the frames, and that really helps to protect the windows and what's inside.
Good deal. Let's see the next one. We'll move on along here.
This is the reception area at our offices, and this is after some remediation is going on, where we lost the north face of the building as far as the roofing is concerned. In fact, they're in the process now of replacing the complete roof system on this building, and we lost a lot of ceiling tiles, a lot of the insulation was all wet. And so we had to kind of close this area off, and they had to treat it for mold and things of that nature. You see the carpet's all torn up there in the bottom right-hand corner, but it's getting better.
Wow. So you actually, you lost part of a wall? Or part of the roof? We
lost part of the fascia on the near the roof, on the roof line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good deal. Well, what's next? Let's see the next picture, Suncast.
All right. This is right after. Yeah. This is actually during the storm. This is after things had settled down a little bit, and we were able to get outside. I'm actually standing by the generator looking south. And this is our STL tower. It's a Roan SSV, and 160 feet, and it fell over, thank goodness, away from the building. And it's as you can see, it's still storming, and we're in the process of getting the generator started. I wanted to talk about that, and I meant, a while ago, I mentioned that I tested everything on Wednesday. On Sunday before Wednesday, and everything worked under load. So here comes the storm on Wednesday. At the peak of the storm starts at about 12:30 p.m., midday. So we lose power, no problem. UPS kicks in. Nobody even knows that we lost power because the noise of the storm. You couldn't hear the generator running if you wanted to.
Oh my God. I was going to wonder, because generators running to me, they're kind of irritating. I mean, yes, they're doing you a service, but that's a lot of noise out there. And it's like, but the noise from the storm the building was literally breathing, the building was breathing with the wind gust. And you can see there on the transformer bank there, the wires coming from the power company are sagging because there's a pole that's down off the picture there. But so you're on the UPS. It's time for the generator to kick in about 15 seconds. Well, the damn generator doesn't kick in, and there's stuff flying through the air. I can't go out there because there's all kinds of stuff flying through the air. It could decapitate you or something like that. And so we had to wait a little while for things to settle down. The damn battery went bad from the Sunday to Wednesday. When I checked it on Sunday, it cranked the generator perfectly. On Wednesday, it wouldn't crank the friggin' generator. So
So we stayed on the UPS for about 35 minutes, and finally it died. And so we went off the air. Transmitters were still on. That's the funny thing about it. I had three dead carriers on the air. WPAP, Sunny 98, 94.5 were all the carriers were in 99.3 were all the carriers were there, but there was no audio. So after things settled down and it got safe to go outside, we literally went out to one of our station vans and got a battery out of a station van. That's, it's a battery for, just a little old small battery, that goes in a van. The one that goes in a generator is about 2.5 feet long and it weighs about 100 pounds. It's a huge battery. So we took that battery out, put the little tiny battery in there. Then we took a little red Honda 2 kW generator and cranked it. And then we had a roll around battery charger with 200 amp boost on it, like the ones you'd find in the auto shop. And we put that on there and we got the generator cranked. And
oh my goodness.
Wow. And so we were back on the air. It took us about 30 minutes to get everything back up, because you got to remember we had file servers, we had all of our next gen equipment, everything went down in a really weird way, with a power failure. Those systems are not designed to be shut off like that, and so we had to bring up everything, make everything reattach to the server, and of course then crap starts quitting. So we had our Ethernet, a Cisco Ethernet switch went bad on next gen. Luckily, I had it was a 1 gig switch, but I happened to have a 100 meg switch. So we yanked it out and put in the 100 meg switch and got it back on, and got next gen going. But all the while they were on the air doing radio old style because all they could do was talk. So they were talking, the air staff was talking on the air and giving out information, and they were actually taking a couple of phone calls, but not over the phone, but over their cell phones, and holding the cell phone up to the microphone, and doing it like because we had lost our connection with our dial tone provider, because of some of their circuits were up on pole mounted fiber optics, and we're going to talk about that in a minute too, by the way. And so we had a period of time there where they were doing old timey radio. They had a microphone and that was it. No turntable, no CD player, no nothing. They were so used to using next gen that they really, they always use next gen for everything, whether it was a drop or whatever, so it took us a while to get next gen happy. And if you're familiar with next gen, and it has that little happy smiley face that comes up on the top of the toolbar, to let you know that everything's fine. And there was a period of time there where next gen was pissed off for a while, but we finally got it happy, and everything got going. But that was our downtime, was that period there where the generator wouldn't crank, and it didn't crank automatically, is what it should say. And then we got it to crank with a backup battery system.
But you found a way to get it on. I think that's ingenious to do what you did with the car, the truck battery, plus using a boost. That's some real engineering there. How are we going to get this thing to turn?
Because those starters on those generators pull a hell of a lot of current. A standard car battery is not going to crank it, but using that boost on that charger helped. And
let's see if we can go ahead, get a couple more photos in before we need to take a break. What's this?
Okay, this is at one of our transmitter sites, and there you see Mr. Green Onan sitting over there running. That's a 125 kW. This is at our 94.5 site, which is down at Port St. Joe, Florida. And the dish that's right there in front of the generator is what's called a SAT-L. That's a system that iHeart has that was put into use by the company. We put those in right after Hurricane Katrina, and that was being used as the STL, and and I mean that's because of the loss of the studio. Because of the loss of the studio tower, that was put into service as the STL to that site, along with the other site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were actually, and this is very important, we were lucky enough to have underground, 100% underground AT&T fiber optics on our circuit going to our corporate offices. When it left our office here, it was underground all the way. We never lost that circuit, so we were able to stream our audio to Cincinnati, then to San Antonio, up on a bird and down to these individual transmitter sites on different streams, using simple barracks technology. To get the stations on the air. Each one of these systems has a unique IP address, and so we just stream to just point it to that IP address.
So I think I get the picture now. So your studio had power, but it had no STL connectivity to your own transmitter sites because the tower was down. But you did have. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I did have some connectivity. I had a T1 going to WPAP in Sunny 98 using Intraplex, and then I had also to 99.3. However, the 99.3 went down after several hours because the phone company's batteries went bad. Because of power failure at an RT terminal on the side of the highway. And 2 days later, I was able to drive you couldn't use the phone. There was no phones. Cell phones were even useless for that matter. Oh. I was down at the transmitter site at 94.5, and I said, I'm just going to run down to the phone company and see if I can see if they can get a generator and put it at that RT. So I drove down there. It was just 5 or 6 miles from the transmitter site. Drove into Port St. Joe, and pulled up in the parking lot. There was a guy cooking hamburgers for all these telephone people that were there working. And and I told him who I was and what I needed. He ended up being the local manager. He said, "Yeah, we can take care of that." And he picked up a walkie-talkie, called a guy, and says, "Go to such and such on Pleasant Rest Cemetery Road," which is where this transmitter site is, "and put a generator on that RT." And he said, "They'll take care of it, no problem." So I drive away, and I get down the road maybe 15 minutes later, and my Burke remote control calls me from that site. And I say, "Well, hell," and I punched up the radio, and there's the audio back, because that's all it took to get it back on the air. But it was all underground fiber optics going from that central office, probably 30 miles to the site where this was. And so it was the fact that it was underground was the reason that stayed on the air. But I just happened, we had. This is the WPAP in Sunny 98 site that we're looking at there. It's located north of Panama City, about 30 miles, and it's a 1,150-foot tower. And we're fueling that generator. There's in the red shirt there, for those who are watching. That's Josh Josh Harton from iHeart Montgomery. The black truck there that we have, that's one of the fleet of what we call DART vehicles from iHeart. These are for emergency use. They have a fleet of vehicles, motorhomes, generators, and other things for us to use during emergencies. This particular, our transmitters are in that big building there, along with a TV station. But that's why you see the big satellite dishes. And of course, right there by our generator is another one of those SAT-L dishes, and that was also used. This site was fed by a T1, and even though the T1 was on the ground with trees on top of it, it was fiber from the highway to the RT down this road to this transmitter site, and then it was copper from there into the transmitter site. Even with the copper and the fiber on the ground with trees on top of it and everything, the damn thing still worked, and we were able to stay on it. And then the phone company came in just last week, and they put fiber in all the way, so that now new fiber, and and so we're hoping that that's going to increase the reliability of that circuit. And I have to give a big shout out to a guy named Casey from AT&T. He really went. He's a local. It's hard these days to get have a good relationship where you can talk to somebody with the phone company. Like it was in the old days when you knew the guy at the toll test board and all of that. But Casey here in Panama City, him and a guy named Joe. Joe and Casey, they take care of all the special circuits. Basically, if it's a special circuit for AT&T, they're the guys, and they went the second mile for us on that. And we finally got the T1s back there on new cable just last week, but we're still using as a backup. Talking about backups again, Kirk. We had all of these sites were fed by microwave, and then we had the T1 for backup. Well, now that we just have the T1, we're using the SAT-L for a backup. So everything is still backed up. We still have even under these conditions, we're now back to where we have a backup audio path for all of our stations.
Wow, man! Hey, you got a lot more to tell us, and maybe you got some more to tell us about fiber, and because earlier you said you're going to return to that topic. Plus, I want to know what's going to be going on with the studio tower and how you're going to get that rebuilt. So that's all coming up. Chris Tobin is here. He's been silent. I think he's just been listening like me to these stories. Chris, you still there, buddy? You all right?
Yeah, I'm still here. No, I'm observing and listening. And my questions for Charlie will be, after everything is said and done, what have you learned, and what are the plans for, after any emergency situation? I know I've been in this situation dozens of times. Everything is passed, we're back to normal operations. You look back and do what the famous, the post-mortem, if you will. Okay, what could we have done better, or what did we overlook, or what didn't we realize? Like, say, in the case of the battery, how does one sort of prevent that next time, or is it a different type of maintenance? So that's the kind of question I have for you after we come back from break.
Well, good deal. Hey, our show this week in Radio Tech is brought to you by our friends at Broadcasters General Store, and they are working with a number of your favorite manufacturers. One of them is Henry Engineering, and Henry Engineering is making this awesome product called the Henry Engineering Sportscaster. It's a sports broadcast audio control system. Now, it's not just a mixer. It does a lot more than being just a mixer. It's an audio control system for managing the audio portion of a sporting event, radio, or video broadcast. When you use it with Henry Engineering Sports Pods, the Sportscaster creates an integrated system that includes all the essential audio functions, including audio mixing, of course, for air or webcast, headphone audio management and distribution, and off-air intercommunication. Yeah, that means intercom. So Sportscaster is a one-box solution that's comprehensive, yet it's really intuitive and easy to use. Now, by integrating all these functions into one device, the Sportscaster eliminates the need for multiple mixers, multiple distribution systems, headphone amps, intercoms, power supplies, and complicated wiring. It provides all these essential functions in a one RU package, plus the sports pods that each of your announcer, your color announcer, your spotter, they would all get those. Plus, then it has inputs for your field reporter, a crowd mic, maybe a PA announcer mic if you want to bring that in from time to time, and intercom with camera operators if you're doing some video. So just all these possibilities in this amazing one RU box, including it's got duplex intercom between producer and talent, producer headphone audio mixing, headphone mix for the field reporter and the camera reporters, field reporter headphone output, and camera operators headphone outputs. All these things, all these well thought out items that, if you know Hank Landsberg, Hank is the owner of Henry Engineering, and he has designed some amazing products over the years. And the Sportscaster is really a top-notch item. We're in the middle of sports season for high school and for college. You've got, maybe your system is not really up to par. Maybe you got too much wiring to set it up. Maybe it just takes too many cases to carry it from place to place. Well, the Henry Sportscaster is really worth looking at to solve all that kind of mess and get the job done. So you have great communications and great audio on the air, all from one box. Here's how you check it out. You can go to henryengineering.com. It's actually henryeng.com and look for the Sportscaster. You can also call our friends at Broadcasters General Store. They're actually just up the road from where I am right now. They're in Ocala, Florida, and they do such a great job. Call them at 352-622-7700. That's a number you want to have in your Rolodex or your phone. That's 352-622-7700. They have so many people there who are just so capable of, telling you what's cool, what's not cool, what people are ordering. They have, technical specs. And one of the great things about BGS is they've developed an ordering system for themselves and for you that when you place an order, you get great information about when it's going to get there, where it is, if it's in transit, if it's something that they have in stock, or if they're drop shipping it. Just great knowledge about, hey, when is this thing going to be? I need it here by Friday. Can I have it by Friday? Yeah, you can have it by Friday. So I've always enjoyed that service from BGS. So give them a call or look them up online at bgs.cc. bgs.cc. Good friends and great broadcast gear, the Henry Sportscaster. All right. We're on This Week in Radio Tech, episode 420. It's a war stories episode. And my goodness, we're hearing about a heck of a war story. Hurricane Michael hit the panhandle of Florida 6 weeks ago. iHeart in Panama City is under the direction, engineering-wise, of Charlie Wooten. And we're going to hear more now about Charlie's adventures. And we're looking at pictures, too. So if you're listening, let me encourage you to go get the video version of this podcast. Charlie, shall we take a look at another couple of pictures or so?
Yeah, we got quite a few pictures, so we probably need to speed it along a little bit here.
Okay. I wanted
to show this right here. I'm not going to dwell on it a whole lot, but you probably read about this in the trades, and I'm not berating them or anything, but this was such a devastating event that this particular group of people here, Powell Broadcasting, left the market. They threw in the towel. Yeah, those 4 radio stations right there are off the air. They're gone. They're out of here. The Hot 107.9 that you see there was bought by EMF and will be coming back on the air, I guess, at some point in time. But they just said, "That's it. We're gone. See ya." They didn't even after the power went off, they just left the market.
I can see that happening. Yeah. If they didn't have hope of getting back on without spending a lot of money that maybe they didn't have. Wow.
Well, I'm not. No comment on that. No comment. Comment.
What's next here, Suncast?
This is in the WPAP control room, and this is an official from FEMA who's there giving some information and. Over to his right there is DJ Big Boy from our urban station, but we were simulcasting on all of our stations at this point in time. We have a hurricane plan, and part of that plan calls for us to go into simulcast mode on all stations originating from the WPAP control room at a pre-prescribed time, basically. So many hours before after we've been under hurricane warning, and here was someone from FEMA here giving some information out to the public.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, let's buzz on to the next Next picture. Oh,
more pictures of us fueling generators. That was something we did a lot of. So this is a different generator here, but we were fueling another generator. Let's go on to another one, Suncast.
Okay.
Oh yes, the infamous flat tire. This was coming back from this one of the transmitter sites, and my vehicle ran over a piece of wood that had a sharp point on it and took the sidewall out, and so you see Jeff Peacock and Chris Wiggins and Josh Harton here changing my tire for me. They had to go to Mariana, about 30 miles away, and get a tire mounted on the rim and bring it back. And I sat there. The reason we didn't put the spare on them is because the spare was already being used on my truck, because I had a flat tire shortly after the hurricane. There was a lot of crap in the road, a lot of metal, nails, and drywall. My wife had a drywall screw in her tire this morning, and it was what we started the day off with this morning. And because of all the debris, but they're changing the tire on my vehicle.
That's really a common theme. A common theme that we common to a lot of disasters. We've done a show about it, or two, where Chris Tobin describes all the aftermath from Sandy that hit New York City, and just constant hazards after it was all over. You kept running into stuff that would hurt you. So,
yep.
Wow. All right. What's this picture?
This is a picture of some technology we used. Hats off to Charles Kinney from WSB in Atlanta for letting us borrow a couple of his Comrex access units. And we had this one set up at the Bay County EOC to carry news conferences and do interviews with government officials. They could, both hear, it had high IFB, so they could hear and talk. It's a complete two-way situation there. And I think the next picture that just happens to be in the right sequence, is Ruth Corley. She is the information officer for, or the PIO for the Bay County Sheriff's Department, and she's on the air from the Bay County EOC, talking to our air people back at the studio. So that we were using this as a way of getting that information. Let's go ahead and go to the next one.
Yeah.
And
that's that same tower.
Yes, the same tower. Yep.
So let me ask you, what direction did it fall in the direction that the wind was blowing it down, or what was the nature of the failure? Yeah,
it blew down in direction of the way the wind was blowing it from, and we were on the west side of the eye wall. We had the eye wall in our area, and so it was coming from the north.
Okay,
the east side of the storm is coming from the south.
Yep.
Okay, so all the trees on this side of town are slanted to the south. All the trees on the other side of town are slanted to the north.
Yeah,
because of that's according to where the eye went through. But
so what's your prospect for in that tower?
iHeart sold some of their towers to a company called Vertical Bridge here a couple of years ago, and so it's Vertical Bridge's tower, and they're in the process of getting something to replace it. Word is it's going to be a monopole type situation, but I don't have anything official on that. We basically have there were two 10-foot dishes and a paraflector and a 6-foot dish, and then we had a DB224 VHF Marty antenna, and then a DB, I think it's a 420 UHF antenna for Marty up there, because I use VHF and UHF Marty here for some things, and so we still use Marty here, believe it or not.
We've got great terrain for it. Yeah.
Well, we got great terrain, and we're not in an RF rich environment, so it works. It works pretty well. We don't have a lot of problems with intermod and whatnot here, so it's okay here. All right, we'll go into the next picture. All right, here we are with another Comrex Assex unit where we're setting up at Channel 7, our TV partner. We had a Marty system that stayed on 24/7 from their news set, and so they were our media partner, and we would get our weather reports and news and any breaking news or anything we could get from them that way. And of course, when we lost the tower, we lost the ability. The tower at the studio, we lost the ability to receive that Marty signal, and so we're using another solution here to get to transmit from the Channel 7 studio back to the iHeart studio where we could get that information just above this. I don't know if it's in this picture or in or another picture. Yes, in another picture. There's above their head there's a little shelf, and there's a Marty transmitter sitting up there. And basically, we just brought the XLR out of that and plugged it into the access there, and plugged it into the internet. And that's Jeff Peacock and Josh Hart. And Jeff is from Mobile, and Josh is from Montgomery. And they're setting that up, and we just kind of lashed it up there temporarily with a couple of cable ties, and we went and got it the other day. As a matter of fact, we got through with it and got it back the other day.
Wow, good thinking. Good thinking. What's next?
There's the Martin. There. Now zoom in. There you go. Now you see the little device that's above the Marty transmitter with the two antennas on it. That is a cool device right there, and we're lucky. iHeart's lucky enough to have some of those. It's made by Cisco. It's basically an LTE radio, and notice it's got a Ethernet cable on it, and it comes down and connects to that access unit, and that's how we were using. That's how we were getting our IP solution back to the studio. Was using AT&T LTE, using that unit there to get into to go into the IP.
Good. I didn't know Cisco had some that were branded. Of course, we're all familiar with Cradle Points, and our friend Josh Bone has some that have guaranteed QoS, which is pretty interesting. But I'd never seen that Cisco one. Cool.
Yeah, that's a new one. We used those first time we used those was up in South Carolina. We used those during that hurricane up there the month before. We use that for a temporary STL on the station. Okay, going to the next one. Oh, this file cannot be previewed. This is my favorite one. I don't know if he can play it or not, and it's got audio on it, and I don't know if he can play the audio, but it's me punching through. Okay. It's me punching through all of the signals about 4 days. Let's see, this would be four days after the hurricane, from my car radio, my truck radio, punching through, showing that all the signals were back on the air.
So it's a video file of you going through the station, proving that they're all back on the air.
Yeah, I don't know if if he can play it or not, but
he says he can. It won't play in vMix. I didn't know it was a video file, so I couldn't give him a heads up on it. So I apologize.
All right,
that's no problem. Pictures then.
All right. This is we're on the way to one of our transmitter sites. I took this picture. This is a temporary cell site that was set up on top of a high-rise bridge. This was near Port St. Joe, and basically what they did. This bridge goes probably 70 feet above average above ground terrain, and so they set up this truck right on the top of the bridge, and it's for a portable. It's a portable cell site. Kind of interesting thing there that they had in there, and I had to put this one in here. Somebody put this sign up. It was on the way. It was on the way back from my 94.5 site. I saw this. I had to turn around and go back and take a picture of this because it says it all.
Wow!
And here we are. Yeah. Yeah, here we are at the studio. This is 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Our power is getting ready to be turned back on at the studio after being off, and it was a good feeling to watch them throw those jacks in and finally hear that generator shut down after having given us reliable service for almost 3 weeks at the studio.
Wow, 3 weeks. Oh, man.
We were let me tell you this. We were 200 yards from a major substation. 200 yards. And it took 3 weeks to get power to 200 yards from the substation. So that gives you an idea of the devastation.
So this picture right here, it looks like an AM tuner site.
This is at our 590 transmitter site. This is Tower 1, the tuning unit for Tower 1, and that lost its roof, and you can see the various tuning components that are used there, and the optional palm tree leaves that add a little extra capacitance. But anyhow, obviously off the air, and it's still off the air. We're going to be putting in a long wire next week to get this back on the air in some fashion. But right now, we've got some other. This is it's a 300-foot this tower. This same at the same tower number, Tower 1. There's a stub about 50 feet sticking up there, and it's a 300-foot tower. And then there was a 4-bay ERI antenna on that tower for our backup solution. It was a broadband antenna that would handle all of our frequencies that we have here, and it was on that tower. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring a crane in and with a man basket, get our tower guy to go up there and cut away the tower that's leaning over and or broken over, and we're going to get that out of the way. We're going to use that tower. We're going to build an inverted L, and we're having a power pole put in telephone pole put in about 400 feet away, and then we'll feed the base of the tower, and then attach the wire that's going 400 feet or 375 feet down to the other pole, and using what's called an inverted L to get back on the air on 590. Probably be pretty low antenna resistance, but or antenna impedance, but we'll see what happens. Right. Sure, we can get it tuned. There's Tower 2. There's Tower 2. The tuning house is, believe it or not, the concrete block there to the right. It's okay. And if you look way behind there, you can see a piece of tower tilted there. That's Tower 3, way back in the background. Yeah. But all 3 towers completely gone.
By the way, for our listeners, in case you're listening to This Week in Radio Tech and can't watch, we are looking at pictures of just devastated towers, crumpled on the ground, just in the Panama City, Florida area, and so that's what we're looking at. And it just breaks my heart to see all those towers on the ground.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The tuning house here is in perfectly good condition. The latch, believe it or not, the hasp blew apart and opened the door in the wind because of the wind pressure, but everything inside the tuning house there is okay. We're not sure exactly what we're going to do here, but we'll probably be putting the replacement tower or a tower at number 2 here to get back omnidirectional initially and see what we're going to do from there. I wanted to show this little, I'm a ham operator, Kirk, and a friend of mine who works for the U.S. Coast Guard, who's in the U.S. Coast Guard. He's a chief warrant officer. He's N2NL, Dave Mueller. He's had been assigned to come to Panama City to help with the disaster with the Coast Guard. Well, the last time I saw Dave was in July in Germany at the WRTC competition where I was a referee, and he was actually a competitor. And in a small world, he gets assigned to come to Panama City. But he texted me information, and then I would get it put on the air. There's a community north here called Fountain, and he was letting everybody know that they had bottled water and meals, and that Salvation Army was going to be there. And it's kind of cool to be able to incorporate our friendship in ham radio and have it work out to where we could help each other during the storm here like that. This is just a crew that was there to do some emergency repairs to the AM transmitter building. That building is full of mold and whatnot, but we wanted to get had extensive roof damage to it, so we have a work crew there that was working on it. Just thought I'd show that.
Cool. All right, got time for a couple more pictures before we need to take one more break.
Okay. This is a quick solution. I wanted to show how easy it was to set this up. You've got the Cisco. This is a picture showing some simple electronic components or broadcast audio components. You have a little Cisco switch, which is connected to our SAT-L system. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then we have the blue cable. There's a cable, Ethernet cable comes down to the barracks box. Mm-hmm. And it's got WFSY written on it, and then a particular IP address. And then from there, it comes out of the RCA connectors and goes into a little device that turns it into balanced audio at the correct level, which goes to the audio processor. And that was a quick and dirty way of getting audio to our transmitter there at Owenwood Road for WFSY.
That's the right way to do it. That's the right way to do it when you got to get it on the air. Sure.
Well, yeah, we had it. You threw it on the floor, you threw it together, and had it done in 30 seconds. But it worked. And then we used this company. This is a company out of Tallahassee that we were using for our generator servicing. We did take our generators off the air, each one of them down at midnight, 3 consecutive nights. We did four generators in 3 nights. Every night at midnight, we would take one of the generators down and do an oil change because of the number of hours we were putting on the generator. So we did oil change, filter change, water separator change, fuel filter change. Everything was done to the generators. At midnight, we made announcements and everything so people would know we would be back. And there are a lot of people that were listening to us, and a lot of people depending on us for information. And when we went away, it bothered people. So we made sure as much as we could to tell people that we had, we got to take it off. We got to do this work. We've got to do the maintenance on the generator so we can be reliable. Now, luckily, as far as the studio is concerned, we were able to do it and use the UPS, and the UPS stayed up long enough. We have a really nice 18 kVA best UPS, and it stayed up for the duration of the oil change. So that wasn't a problem for the studio.
Hey, we've got a few photos left, but I got to take a quick break and hang on because after this announcement, we're going to be back with a few more photos until we're just out of time. So that's coming up. You're listening to, or hopefully you're watching to see all these great photos This Week in Radio Tech, our 420th episode. It's a War Stories episode. Chris Tobin is along. He's, like me, has just been watching and listening to what Charlie Wooten, our guest, has been talking about, all the aftermath from Hurricane Michael. Our show, This Week in Radio Tech, brought to you in part by our friends at Lavo. Let's hear it from Lavo.
There has probably never been a better time in history to buy a new radio mixing console. Today's consoles are more sophisticated than ever, with more features and functions than you can shake a stick at. But have you noticed how complicated they are? There's a sea of knobs and switches and displays and buttons. Some of them look like you might need a pilot's license to do your show. Well, a board doesn't have to be complicated to be powerful. Just look at the new Ruby mixing surface from Lavo. The first thing you notice is how smooth and streamlined it is. Ruby has lots of cool tech, but what it doesn't have is that confusing ocean of buttons that clutter things up. Now, we all know that there are some console features the jock only uses once in a while. So why dedicate controls to them? Ruby fixes this problem by moving those once-in-a-blue-moon controls to a touch-sensitive, customizable GUI that happily shares screen space with your other studio software, helping you fight control room clutter. Thanks to this design innovation, talent that use Ruby produce smoother shows with less errors. Controls that are used the most fall naturally to hand, while functions that rarely need adjustment are easily controlled with just a couple of clicks in the context-sensitive GUI. And Ruby has cool features you won't find on other boards, like Auto Mix, an intelligent gain writing function that guarantees the perfect mix for multi-mic morning shows and call-in segments. Dual mode snapshots that instantly switch the motorized faders between on-air and production modes. And enough DSP and I/O options to make even your pro sound pals green with envy. And because quality is as important to Lavo as it is to you, every console is proudly built to fanatically precise standards at Lavo's own factory in Germany. If you're ready to declutter your control room, do yourself a favor. Check out the new Ruby and the other cool Lavo radio tech at www.lawo.com/TWiRT.
Thanks a lot to Lavo for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. Appreciate their support and our other sponsors' support, too, of This Week in Radio Tech. All right, Kirk Harnack, along with Chris Tobin in New York, and Charlie Wooten is with us. And as you know, Hurricane Michael tore through the Florida Panhandle about 6 weeks ago. Charlie is an engineer there. He's been there for a long time at Panama City and does great regular maintenance. Also has backup systems. His support team at iHeart also has a lot of backup systems. But boy, there's a lot of nitty gritty and getting things back to normal. We've got a few more pictures to look at, and we kind of have a hard out time in about 8 minutes here, Charlie. So why don't we just get back into it and see what we can look at?
Okay. All right, what I want to do here before I do anything else, Kirk, is I want to mention some people's names. These are guys who came into the market and helped me out, and we were a team. And it wasn't just me; there was a team of people, of engineers that would be here for a couple of days, and they would leave, and another group would come in. So I want to mention everybody's name that I hope I'm not leaving anybody out. Josh Harton from Montgomery, Jeff Peacock from Mobile. Chris Wiggins, also from Mobile, Chris Williams from Sarasota, Randy Moore from Tallahassee, Phil Tuck from Jacksonville, Dustin Hapley from Tampa, and Mike Hagans from Miami. And, of course, Randy Mullinex, our regional engineer, regional vice president, and Jeff Littlejohn, who supported us with anything that we needed. And I do mean anything. And the reason I want to say anything is we literally had a helicopter fly in here from Louisiana, land in the backyard of the radio station, pick up Mike Hagans, fly him to the 94.5 transmitter site, drop him there, and he walked into the site and hooked up the audio on the satellite and got that audio feed on that station back on the air. Literally they did literally anything that everything that they could to help us out. We weren't told no to anything that we needed. So I wanted to make that very clear.
Wow.
So let's go and get into some pictures.
Support. Yeah. Let's see some. Suncast, go ahead.
So pictures of the tower. We can go past that one and go on to the next one. We had a problem with the WFSY antenna. We had Sunkist. There's a cast. There is a photo labeled Jam Pro. I don't know if you can find that one that I sent. And maybe you can't, but anyhow, every element on that antenna, because of the high wind and the vibration on the tower, we had a crack in the same place on almost every bay, and so we were. I had an old antenna that had burned up the inner bays from years ago, but I kept all the elements, and so we sent up a couple of those elements and fixed some of the leaks. But I'm having to run a big bottle of nitrogen on that thing right now one of those huge bottles of nitrogen, the kind that's liquid nitrogen, and you just get the gas off the top of it to keep the antenna dried until we can get a new antenna, which has been ordered. But we had a real problem with this antenna. This was the one at the very top, and there's no telling how high the winds were at that altitude, 1,100 feet. So
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yeah. So we're
1,100 feet in a hurricane. No place you want to be.
Yeah, there's the big bottle of nitrogen right there, and we're going through one of these about every 10 days. So,
what? How much does that cost?
That right there is $289 delivered.
That's not as much as I thought, but okay, that's not terrible.
But it's basically liquid nitrogen, and then you just get the gas off the top of it. Here they are hooking up the. This is very near where the worst part of the storm went through, and you can tell by the trees and the way they are. This used to be a very heavily forested area. This is the feed going off to the right here on this picture between the two bucket trucks is the one going to my 99.3 transmitter site, and this is when they are getting ready to make this hot after replacing all the poles on every pole and every piece of wire from the highway for about 2 miles. They really did a great job of getting that back on, and you can also see the old pole and the old transformers and stuff on the ground there. So let's just go on Suncast to the next picture.
Anymore? Okay.
Oh, well, that's just a picture of my truck with our stickers we have to help us get in and out of areas. Going to the next one. And we eat very good. We had our Vienna sausage and potted meat. Yeah.
That'll keep you going for a while. A lot of protein there. Right. Protein and fat, which is what you need. Yeah. What you need when you're working on these conditions. Protein and fat.
Next.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the last one, he says.
That's the last one. Okay. I had sent a couple of single photos, but I guess they.
If we can get those in the next few seconds, that'd be great. But we're gonna have to close out the show.
If not, that's it.
You went through those already.
We did. We went through them already. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Hey, well, Chris Tobin has been sitting back by the whole time, and as usual, he's very quiet until he has something to say. Chris, what are your thoughts about all this that Charlie's been showing us?
Well, it sounds like his team did a great job of keeping things moving along and everything staying on the edge despite the inclement weather and conditions that are probably way beyond what most people see or experience. But I'm curious, now that it's passed, so to speak, what have you discovered, or what changes are you going to make moving forward for preventive maintenance and preventing any, by the way, oops during another event like this?
Well, Chris, the only oops that really bothered me during this whole exercise was that damn battery. And I don't know, I'm not sure exactly how to do that, because it worked on the Sunday before the Wednesday of the storm. And I don't know, perhaps maybe testing a little bit more than once a week, maybe is what needs to happen. But the one thing I do want to say is that the importance of underground fiber optics. If you have the capability of having your circuits underground and not on a pole, take that option, because they are still splicing fiber here in Panama City. It's cable TV, telephone, data. Are basically non-existent right here, and even if they're still putting in the trunk lines to start doing the cable TV distribution here.
Ooh, wow. That's great work, though. If you only had the battery as your only issue, that's a great job of preventive maintenance on your part, Charlie. That's excellent.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's again, we had the backup. We had the backup audio pass, and the only snafu other than that would be that I didn't have a means of switching the 94.5 audio remotely, which I should have had. But now it does. It already every site now has a Broadcast Tools audio switcher that will switch to a backup source after 5 seconds of silence. So that's been taken care of, except when Rush Rimbaugh's on and when he takes a 5 second.
He takes a 5 second pause. Yeah, that does it right there. That's wow, gentlemen. We could talk for a whole lot longer, and maybe we can meet again over coffee or drinks sometimes. But we got to go for now. Charlie Wooten, thank you so much for bringing all this experience into an hour and 10 minutes worth of chatting about it. it can't do it justice. But thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you. I wish I had some better pictures, but at the time I wasn't thinking about taking pictures that much.
Yeah, I know it wasn't your top priority, but we get a good feeling for this. Chris Tobin, thank you for being here too. This has been fun listening to Charlie, hadn't it?
Oh, it's excellent. It's a great reminder of things to prepare for and always be ready. Be at the ready.
Next week, I want to let folks know we're going to be off for Thanksgiving. I'm going to actually be busy doing some weather on TV, but that's the 22nd. But on Thursday, the 29th, we're going to be here, and Jeff Welton of Nautel is going to be here, and he's got a couple of war stories himself, and it's always great to have Jeff Welton on. He was the SB Educator of the Year this year. So Charlie's been Engineer of the Year and Jeff Welton, Educator of the Year. We've got an all-star cast here. I mean, I'm just along for the ride, but with Chris Tobin and all these great guests, man, we're very lucky. So, hey, we got to go. Charlie, thanks again. Chris, thank you. Suncast, thank you for producing the show. Be sure you check out our sponsors, and we'd appreciate it very much if you'd let them know that you enjoy our show. We'll be back in a couple of weeks on the next edition of This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.